Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fieros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, I'm excited. We've got Joel Miller on the show. So after obtaining a BA in accounting, Joel has been investing in rental property since 1978. It's one more year before I was actually born. I was born in 79, so he's been flipping a long time. So he's been in real estate for a long time. He's been flipping houses since 91. So he's got a little bit to say in terms of where we are in the market cycle, if this is doom and gloom, and if this is the end of real estate. He served in numerous leadership roles over the years in his professional and personal circles. He teaches real estate investing, both for beginners and advanced investors. He's also an author of a best-selling book, Build Real Estate Wealth. He's a hard-minded lender, a trusted mentor. He's also a podcast guest, so you can find him on other shows, of course, after you listen to our interview, and just going to be a huge value to the community. So, Joel, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve, thanks so much. I've been looking forward to this. We're going to have a good time today.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I love talking shop, talking story, especially with people like we kind of talked off air, especially with people who have been around for a little bit and have been in the business, have been in real estate for more than the last 5 years. Because we've got a lot of people that got into the business are really struggling right now, let's say, because they've never seen something like that happen before with where we are, and they just don't know how to handle it. So I love talking to people who've got a little bit of experience in the business, have been around for a while. So yeah, so definitely excited to have you on the show.
You got some landlords out there?
Maybe just one or two.
Yeah. Well, you hear about the landlord that was seeing a clinical psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a licensed counselor for a personality disorder?
No, what?
He had an apartment complex.
But
yeah, I'm here all week.
Right. I love it. That's actually good. That's actually really good. Yeah, well, so those of us that may not be familiar with you, those of our listeners that may not be familiar with you, your book, or anything that you've got going on, give us a little bit of your backstory. How did you get started in the business? Was it a family business? Was your dad doing it, or how did you go from accounting to real estate and all the good stuff?
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, my parents, middle class, though they never owned any rental property. I was the first one in our family to do that, and now my son is in the business as well. But I guess I'd have to go back to in junior high. There were two specific things that happened that really shaped my life. The first is that an investor built four unit apartment complexes at the edge of our subdivision right on my paper. And of course, I got them all as customers, all the tenants as customers on my route. But I distinctly remember going to my house and doing the math on what this whole rental property thing was all about, talking about how somebody would not own where they lived and they paid money to who owned it. And that guy, woman, whoever it was, it made some money on what they got paid. I figured it out as best as I could. And I kind of stuck that in my back pocket. And I said, I want to do that sometime in the future. The next thing that happened was that one of the older kids in the neighborhood built a pirate radio station in their basement with a flagpole for the antenna in the backyard. And I hung out there, and that's when I decided I wanted to be a DJ. I know you didn't mention it earlier on, but this may be the first full-time professional mobile disc jockey or entertainer of any kind that you've had as a guest on your Cashflow show. But I pioneered the mobile DJ business in this part of the country starting in the 70s after having been on the radio for a few years. And I did that full-time for 35 years. I did 5,051 appearances until I retired in 2011. But just to go back further, back to high school, I did some radio production work during high school, went away to college where I could study accounting because I knew I wanted to learn that for no matter what business I was in, and worked at radio stations through college, got a job halfway through college back home here at the big top 40, 50,000 watt FM radio station in our town. And so I transferred back home and I finished my 4-year degree in accounting. And right before I graduated from college, my weekend job on the radio went full time. And so that meant that I could start doing those mobile DJ jobs on the weekend. So that was the beginning of that. And I got out of college. I did start an accounting practice then, and I only stayed in radio a little while longer because I quickly found out I could make more money in one night than I was making all week on the radio station. So I left that and pursued the mobile DJ work, and I was doing the accounting work. And within about 6 months of leaving the radio station, I bought my first rental property in January of 1978. I still have that property. I was just there a couple of days ago. And it's a cash cow. But several years later, I did sell my accounting practice because something had to give. I was doing more and more DJ appearances, and I was buying more rental property. Then in about 1991, I started flipping houses before flip was a real estate term, which really we came to know after the TV shows came on, flip this, whatever. And we used to call it quick turn real estate. We didn't know what to call it. But then after quite a number of years, I flipped over 100 houses. And in 2018, I became a hard money lender to the other investors in our area, which I get great satisfaction out of because I'm a part of their equation and their journey in their success for whatever they're trying to do. Typically, we're funding flips or rentals that they want to stabilize and then get permanent financing on down the road. So along the way in 2020, when we all had a lot of time in our hands, I started making notes about what I might want to write a book about. And 4 years later, last fall, Build Real Estate Wealth, Enjoy the Journey of Rental Property Investment came out, quickly became a bestseller on Amazon. And that is going really well. We're spending a lot of time promoting that book. And it is kind of the culmination of the interest that I had in teaching, which developed when I was in leadership in our local professional organization of landlords. Actually, it's this part of the state where I started teaching the Landlord 101 classes and some more advanced classes and publishing some articles and doing webinars and talks and things like that. And I said, look, everybody encouraged me, you got to write this stuff down. So that's what we got is the new go-to book for getting started or actually supercharging an existing portfolio. It's written for people that have a portfolio already established in the business and they're looking for some game-changing information that can advance what they're already doing. But it's also written for somebody that's getting started and even people who don't think real estate is for them. And that gets back to why I told you about the mobile DJ business, because the point is that in real estate, income producing properties, you can add that if you know how, and that's what I teach in a book, you can add that to your already busy life, that you can have more income as you go along and also bolster your retirement. Because you may be involved in something that you're passionate about that you don't want to give up. Like I didn't want to give up the mobile DJ. I wanted to be an entertainer. I probably would be further ahead in real estate had I given all the performing up and just concentrated on real estate. But some people have things like that in their life, and so they want to bolster their income in their retirement, but they don't know how. And that's what it's about. I'll end with telling you one thing here. Ron LeGrand, I'm sure you know who Ron LeGrand is. Ron LeGrand reviewed the book. And you know what he said? I wish I would have had his book when I was getting started. So
high praise.
What are you going to say after that? You know? Most reviewers what they're saying is that this is not the kind of book you read. You say, oh, that was great. You put it on your shelf. This is the kind of book you read and you park on your desk because you're going to refer to it. It has over 150 checklists in it of everything from the questions to ask when you're answering a call with somebody who's inquiring about an apartment you advertise, questions to ask for references, checklists on due diligence when you're looking over a property after you've signed a contract. Even for the real beginners, there's a checklist there and what tools you need to add or to own. So it covers everything from mindset through entity formation, through the operation of the rental properties, acquiring tenants, preparing the properties, finding the tenants, of course, tax implications, and running your office, preparing financial statements to look good to the bank. I'm big on that. You don't get borrowed money, you're not going to go very far in this business. This runs on OPM, other people's money. And it talks about the understanding the differences between riches and wealth. not the same. Kind of like the difference between knowledge and wisdom. They're different. And best practices for keeping calamity out of your life, your business life, your professional life. I'm all about heading calamity off at the pass. I mean, why have it if you can prevent it? So, and there's bonus material in there on flipping houses. It's mainly a book on rentals, but there's a chapter in there all about flipping houses. And you get to the end, there's a QR code, and you follow the QR code. It's that how to on flipping. So that's what we got. And to end it, I mentioned my son. He is 19. That's my only kid. And he graduated from high school last June at 18, and he bought his first rental a week later. And as we are taping this, he's ready to close next week on his second one. So when I wrote the book, I really wrote it as a love letter to him. I wrote it as like if he was going to be the only person that read it. So the way it's presented, what's included is the information and the calls to action that I would want him to take, and not done like I was never going to meet the people that read it and was never going to be held accountable. I wrote it like I would want my kid and your kid to understand it and take action.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a wonderful gift too. Because like that, just like you said, like that's awesome that you can have it like basically like it's him that's in mind. Because so often, hey, you know what? We get so busy with life, we never get a chance to maybe put down our thoughts or make something so concise that we can pass it on to. That's the hope, I think, for every parent. I got a couple of young kids. That would be the hope that we could do that. But to actually put it into a book form and say, hey, look, you know what? This is that. Yeah. And not only is this going to be, of course, of like personal benefit to you because it's dad with the arm on your shoulder and kind of deal. It's like, no, this actually has practical application. I can set you up. Like if you apply the tools, the strategies, like everything that I've been able to distill down into these pages, hey, take this, apply it, and you should be good. So that's awesome. That's wonderful. I actually really love that.
Yeah. It's written like I wrote it to somebody who was going to have the opportunity to ask me every day what the heck I meant, and would you do this yourself, Dad? And there's nothing in there I wouldn't do or haven't done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably the key difference too, because there's a lot of people that do write books, depending on where they are in their career. And two, like you're able to come from a place of, okay, well, I do have an accounting background, so we're going to get you squared away there, right? You can come at it from obviously years of experience, both in the business and even the things that you were mentioning that what you cover, like, hey, how can we present ourselves to make sure that we look good to lenders, whatever people, stuff like that. Most people that are just started in the business, you do not think about that, right? You're thinking about, all right, well, I need to get this one deal done. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, what about the 20th, right? Are you as lendable when you no longer have a W-2, right? And now you're a business owner, and hey, does the bank look as favorably? Hey, can I get an 11th loan without having any kind of issues? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And your personal, so like, it's just a lot of stuff that people don't think about.
Sure. Unless you're further down the road. Just a few days ago, our professional organization, in our monthly dinner meeting, we had what we call Bankers Summit. It's the third time we've done it. One of our board members is a mortgage broker. And so each year he has put a panel together of top people from every year it's about 5 different banks, 5 or 6. This year he actually had 2 people come in from the largest mortgage lender in the country. And they all had a chance to talk about what they offer and what the terms are, and also take questions. And to your point, one of the biggest things that came up is the importance of being able to present yourself to the bank in terms of your personal and your business financial statement. And I coincidentally in just a couple of months ago had through one of the investor groups in the area here, I was asked to do a whole standalone seminar, live seminar, in-person seminar on just that, preparing yourself to look good to a banker. And there's a whole section about it in my book. I mean, I really took the time, and I gave you all my secrets. They're all in there, because you got to think, somebody at the bank they're not just checking a box like, okay, he turned in the financial statement. They're looking at what's on it. and evaluating the numbers and doing their ratios and all those things that they do for underwriting. And if you don't make it as clear as possible, and if the numbers are not accurate, you're just hurting yourself, because they're only going to spend so much time on it. Or if you've given them inadequate information, they may make the wrong conclusion about you. You see, so that is just so important to make their job easy in that respect, so that you have a better chance of getting approved.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and especially now too, like the lenders are being much more conservative than they were, let's say 3 or 4 years ago. Like it's underwriting guidelines have changed. The lenders, of course, like, hey, guess what, guys? They see the economic environment that we're in too. Like they're not pushing values right now. Like they're not taking unnecessary risk, because there's exposure across the portfolio that they need to balance a bit, depending on who the lender is. I mean, you being a hard money lender yourself, you understand that. Like you being an investor.
Yeah. And you have to understand that the people that are actually doing the underwriting, like let's say in a bank, they might be newer employees to the bank, literally. Some would be there for a long time. And of course, there's always their boss and their boss's boss of underwriting and all that. But they don't have as much of an understanding of our type of business as we do. And so we really have to make it clear. I'll give you an example of that. Literally a little over a year ago right now, it was time for the 10-year renewal of the home equity line of credit that my wife and I have on our personal residence, which otherwise is paid off, but we have a credit line on it that I use in our business. And it had to be renewed. And in the last 10-year period is when I started doing the hard money lending. So that was new this time on my quote unquote application for the renewal of the line. And believe it or not, it was actually initially rejected, even though this line had been operated perfectly for 10 years and another 10 years before that. And long story short, I wouldn't give up, and I will use this term because it was justified in a conversation I had a couple of days ago. I broke the underwriting department because I just said, look, you guys are not looking at this the right way. You're using the wrong information. That information on TransUnion is inadequate or old or inaccurate, and it was relentless. For what should have taken a week and a half to 2 weeks for a routine renewal, took 2 months. And they finally said, you're right. Here's your line. Here's your increase. And by the way, just for putting up for this, the interest rate's going to be 1% lower than what you thought it was going to be. So a couple of days ago, I was in the bank branch where I did all this, because naturally it goes through the bank branch manager, but to the underwriting department. And I found out that the longtime branch manager was going to be leaving and the new branch manager was there. And they took me the two of them happened to be in the meeting room together, and the teller took me to meet them after my transaction was done. And, I know this branch manager real well, and we get to talking, and I looked at the new girl and I said, the new woman who'll be the branch manager. I said, I broke the underwriting department about a year ago. And the current branch manager says, he's right. He did. So I'm not making that up. They actually finished some underwriting
feather in the cap
after processing our renewal of our home equity line of credit.
Well, but it's awesome like that, because though, like, you can be educated enough to help with them. And sometimes like that, like you said, you need to be able to package it in a way for them that they can understand, because they're not just to your point. They're used to dealing with, this is the vast majority to our listeners. They're used to dealing with people, the lenders typically, you know what, hey, you got a W-2, you got a real clean tax return and real clean, simple income. Like that's the lender's best friend, because it's super simple. They can just plug those numbers into the machine, into their underwriting calculator or whatever. Yeah. And it's real nice and easy for them. But then when you've got somebody who's, hey, I got a little bit different of a situation. I got multiple business, multiple income streams. I've got a much different tax situation. A savvy underwriter will be able to look at kind of the overall picture and to say, okay, well, yes. Oh, I do see that here. Okay. I see what you're doing. No, I totally get it. And they can assess their risk much more accurately than somebody who's just getting started in the business.
And that's right. The longer you are in the real estate business, in whatever phase you're in, And the further you are away from having your W-2 job, job, just over broke, the less of a cookie cutter you will appear to be for the underwriting department, for not just a bank, but a lot of other things you do, insurance and different things that come up. So it's good to have a handle on your personal and business finances for the purpose. I mean, I talk about in the book that there's really two purposes for keeping track of your transactions. One is because you have to prepare a tax return, or at least you have to present your information to someone else who's going to do your tax return.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, they're only going to spend so much time trying to figure out what you did, and that's not going to work to your advantage. The more you can have a record, an explicit record of your transactions, the more accurate your tax return is going to be, that the preparer was able to decipher from all your records. And the other reason is for keeping track of what's going on is to use reports to make decisions about your business. And so and those are two of the most important things that happen in your business: preparing and tax returns and paying taxes, and making decisions for expansion or contraction or whatever you need to do with your business. And so if you can't organize your stuff, that's something that you should be looking at hiring somebody else to do, and not like when there's so much of a gap in between, like having somebody look at your stuff every couple of months or something like that. No, if you're not paying attention to it at all, I wouldn't wait that long in between compiling things to bring it to the current date. But then again, I'm an accounting nerd. Steve, I tell you, I don't mention this a lot, but I'm one of those guys. I've actually had a record of everything I've earned and spent since I was 11. So maybe that's
you're a rare bird.
Yeah, I say this, that I look at the preparation of the tax returns for all of our entities and our personal returns during the first 3 months of the year like it's the NFL playoffs. It's like, it's really getting exciting now. And then it just turns out that I got to do my annual review that I prepped for a bank later in October, or not October, later in April. So like right after the taxes are paid in the middle of April, I do that. And when I do our personal financial statement every year, that's my Super Bowl. Get to find out how much has our net worth changed since 1 year ago. So
yeah, and for those of our listeners, right, that aren't tracking that, like I would encourage you to do that. Like even if you're just starting in the business, go prepare a personal financial statement, and like something that's going to show you, okay, you've got all of your numbers. And to me, I found it super exciting, because then like when you are able to see your net worth change and grow, like it's an encouragement, because you start to, wow, okay, the stuff that I've been doing, like the sacrifices, right, that we've been making, the work that you've been putting into, the energy you've been putting into, it's like, wow, this is actually, it's turning into something. And I'm seeing that net worth increase. It's growing. And you are keeping that scoreboard, right? You mentioned kind of the game analogy, and it's like, yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. And I would add that virtually every bank has their own forms, and I encourage, and they probably are moving toward being able to fill things out on some sort of a online form or digital form, something like that. But I actually encourage using the paper versions that they still have, because you can write in the margins. That's one of my secrets as far as adding things that can help explain what a figure is on the form. So you can get your form from whatever bank you deal with, and if you need help from somebody, get help, even if it's from the banker, perhaps filling it out one time. Once it's done the first time, each time you do it after that, you're really just changing what the number was on the same line that you had something before. And the explanation of that line is probably still the same thing. And so it's the first time is the hardest one to get done, but after that, it's much easier. And my book actually walks you through each section that you will find in a personal financial statement that a bank gives you, and gives tips on what they want to see there and what they don't want to see there. Like, for example, don't try to jam information about income property onto the actual form of the banker, because that's your personal financial statement. So all that should end up there is the amount of your personal interest in, say, an entity that you're a part of, even if you're the only one that owns the entity. It's a single person LLC, or it's you and your spouse that own it together. Have a separate statement away from the actual bank's form that gives all the pertinent information about the properties only in that one entity. If you have multiple entities, do a separate statement for each entity as an attachment to the personal financial statement. Don't try to jam all that information about those properties and that cash flow and all that onto the banker's form. Just put like let's say each entity has a net worth, the net capital at the bottom. The difference between the assets minus the liabilities is the net capital. Just add the net capital amounts together and put it on their line under other investments. You see, even though the banker's form has one that says rental property, a box on the back of a section to add rental property, you didn't want to use that unless you own it in your own name and you have like one property. So
because otherwise it's not you that does it. It's actually the entity that owns it. So you have an interest, a percentage interest, right, but it's not you, right? That's your entity, which is something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like this is only like that, like for our listeners, like this is the kind of stuff that you don't think about, but it's coming from the perspective of like, all right, well, what does the bank need to see? What do they want to see? Like, what do they actually care about? Because that's the part that actually makes.
Yeah, the easier you can make it for them to figure their ratios and all that, whether you are ahead on that. So,
oh yeah,
I didn't spend that much time talking about personal financial statements for a while. I love that.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I do have a question too. Like, I love the fact that you've gotten your son involved and he's able to buy property, because obviously he would have grown up having seen you do it.
Yeah.
And kids don't always follow in our footsteps and whatnot, but you've at least impressed upon him, imparted upon him the value of owning, because he could go do his own thing. That could be, hey, well, that's dad's thing. Like, I want to do something else. I want to follow in his DJ footsteps. I don't want to be a landlord.
Thankfully, that was not the one he chose.
But it could have been that, right? But either way, he would have seen, well, okay, I still see the value of owning property. I still see the value in, hey, I need to own assets. So even if that's all that he was able to glean, perfect. You've given him the guide to do it. He's doing that already. Otherwise, like, is he involved in the business at all? Like, or is it just like, yeah, no, we're just going to set you up here, like, for you to do it on your own?
Yeah, he as he got older and capable, he has assisted me with things that occurred on the property. But you got to remember, at this point, I'm not doing a whole lot of work on the properties myself. And I kind of say that if I can't fix it with a hammer, duct tape, goop glue, or a hot glue gun, I'm probably calling somebody. So, so there weren't a whole lot of opportunities for him to spend like all day for weeks, like on a big rehab with me or something like that. However, I have a number of other landlords that are friends, some of whom have larger operations where they actually have W-2 crews that work on property. So he actually works for one of my other landlord friends whenever he's on break from college. He's in the business department at Penn State at the branch campus that is in Erie, and it's called Barron College. And I might say that they actually, whatever the organization is that rates departments at colleges, they rate business departments on a per campus basis, not just like Penn State as a whole. And the Penn State Barron branch campus is in the top 5% in the country. And so he can live at home and operate his rental property and study in a really good business school. And the plan is that when he gets out in a few years, he's a freshman, that at that point I will sell him my properties and I'll get to take back the financing because they'll be paid for, and we'll hold paper. And that's the check every month from the property instead of the rents. It'll be a mortgage check.
That's awesome. Well, he's rolling up to class already with a huge head start, and he's already ahead of the game, and no doubt by already owning property. So yeah, good. You done good, Dad.
Oh, thanks. And I hope he does better than I did. I mean, he's starting 5 years earlier. I was 23 and a half. He was 18 and a half. And I didn't have anybody when I started, you're going to laugh. I was reading hardcover books by guys like Robert Allen and Al Lowry. And then we moved into these late night TV half-hour infomercial real estate guru shows that sold their tape courses that came with 6 or 8 cassette tapes and a manual to follow along. That was way harder than the ways you can educate yourself now with the internet and just able to call up any information you want very quickly.
You got to think about that. There's no excuse, I feel like, now, because like this, you can hop on, you can listen to a podcast or audiobook or any number of different avenues in order to get the information compared to like that. Like, and this has changed even within the last 10, 20 years, right? Because we've got a monthly real estate meetup, and we was talking about this with some investors last night. The rate of change, the pace of change that happens now, it's pretty insane. So if I think how business was done when I first started in the business 20, 25 years ago now, when I first started wholesaling, oh my goodness, like everything was pen and paper, was fax machines, was driving for dollars and bandit signs and all this kind of stuff. Versus now, it's like, no, they do a lot of it remotely, digitally. You've got astro flipping and virtual wholesaling, and now you got all the different dialers, and soon we're going to be having AI. That's what we were talking about. Like how do you incorporate AI now into your real estate business? And so the landscape's going to change. I mean, the core principles are still the same, but how they're implemented, I think it's going to be dramatically different, I think, in another 10 years, let's say. So, but hey, you lay the foundation, you get the groundwork in now, you understand the concepts, all of that will still hold true. It's almost just a matter of like, okay, how do we implement this? So it's exciting. Well, Joe, this is the time of the show where we kind of transition to what we call our fire round. It's just a little bit more brief Q&A.
I'm getting nervous now.
Yeah, right. Is that something you're up for?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. First question. What is your favorite book recommendation other than your own book? I know it sounds like it's
other than Build Real Estate Wealth, Enjoy the Journey of Rental Property Investment. Yeah. I'm going to go old school on you.
All right. Awesome.
And I know that most people
are one of those hardcover books
in the audio, but I'm going to hold up a couple things in front of the camera here.
There you go.
Napoleon Hill, Grow Rich with Peace of Mind.
Okay.
Sterling Sill. This is how to personally profit from the laws of success. And there are 33 laws of success, and each law is a chapter in the book. My copyright on the date on this copy is 10th printing, 1984. Yeah, and that's on Sterling Sill, on Napoleon Hill's book. And Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
But this copy I have is 1967 for his, I think it's his second book, Grow Rich with Peace of Mind. Man, these really got me going in the right direction. And because I learned about the mindset before I tried to learn too much about the mechanics of operating real estate. Because if you don't have the right mindset, you're going to just simply make mistakes or go slower than you need to, for that matter.
Yes, that's actually very key.
My own book starts, like I said, with a bunch of stuff on mindset, even before chapter 1. It's like the introduction. So that's very important.
No, that's hugely important. Yeah, thank you for sharing that too, because I feel like that's the first place people need to start. Because I know you'd be familiar with that quote. It's like, whether you think it's possible or impossible, you're right. And it's like, if it's for the longest time, that's how it was with me. I grew up as a renter. And so like in my mindset, it's like, well, you owning property, that sounds great. I'll sell you a house as an investor. So when I was wholesaling, it's like, but that's because it's for you. Owning investment property, that's for you. That's not for me. That's for other people. And so like, until you can change your mind, right? Learn that things are possible for you. Guess what? You'll always be spinning your wheels. You'll always be heading in the wrong direction. So I think you were very wise to start with mindset in your book. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
My superpower, I believe, is probably relationships. I've been known to say what I'm going to say right now when I've done talks around here. People just, they know me for this. And that is, I've stated many times that if I had a choice between losing all my money or losing all my relationships, I would lose all my money in a heartbeat, because my relationships will help me get my money back.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had all the money and nobody to share it with, that would be worthless. All my relationships, I burned all my relationships getting all my money. That's not good. My to sum it up, I would say, don't make a withdrawal from a relationship just to make a deposit in your bank.
That's good. That's actually really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do appreciate, even though I know you're a young man, there's a long life, lots of life in front of you, but I do always appreciate talking to people who, like how you mentioned earlier, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. You've gleaned wisdom from the time that you've been in business and in life in general. And I always feel like that's so valuable, because when you're young, oh, you know what, like I will sacrifice things for speed. Right. And it's like, you don't realize if you damage that relationship, like for a few bucks, it's just not worth it. Like it really isn't. Yeah. So no, that's hugely valuable. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
All right. Next question. And this, I feel like you almost kind of answered this a little bit with your book, but if you could go back in time and talk to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would probably tell myself to think bigger. That's what I blame myself for along the way, is if I would have thought I was more capable than I was, or thought about bigger projects that might be further ahead. That's what I would say. Although looking back, I realized that each step that came along the way, each property that came along, it fit and it didn't lead. I wasn't making a lot of mistakes. Maybe I could just say that if I could have gone bigger and faster, I would be further ahead monetarily, but I'm not complaining. So, but that would be what I would say. And to make sure that I would tell myself early on, you have a mistake or a setback or something that just doesn't go your way, maybe you don't realize or tell yourself that it's actually a learning opportunity. And you just think, oh, something bad happened to me, now I got to do something. And now I would say, hey, okay, make sure that you get everything you can out of that failure. Turn that failure into a learning experience. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So.
Yeah, but it's always a win. Like it like in terms of, hey, you know what? Like if you're able to go back and learn from the experience, hey, that's a win too. Even if you didn't win according to making the money, that's okay, right? Because then now you can take that knowledge. Now it turns into wisdom, right? Because then so
that's exactly right.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you know what? It's been a pleasure having you on the show. My last question is, if our audience wants to reach out, they want to connect with you some way, maybe either they're local or they're at a distance, what's the best way for them to reach you, to learn more about what you've got going on? And
well, thank you for asking, Steve. Yes, we have a website that is dedicated just for the book. It's the book, as I mentioned, Build Real Estate Wealth, Enjoy the Journey of Rental Property Investments. And you can find that, of course, on just about any book selling platform, particularly Amazon. But the website is real easy. It's joelmillerbooks.com. Joel is Joel, books is plural, Miller, Miller. Everybody knows how to spell it. So joelmillerbooks.com. And on the homepage of that, you can click on a button there that'll open up the entire table of contents for the book. So you can see, it's a fairly detailed table of contents. You can see everything we're covering there. And the other button on there is that there are sample paragraphs, the meat of each of the chapters. You can see two or three paragraphs from each chapter and see exactly what it is we're talking about there. And of course, all over the website, there's buy buttons. And if you click on that, it takes you to the page on Amazon where the book is for sale. But if you actually want to contact me, first of all, you can find me on Facebook and on LinkedIn and Instagram and X. And on the website, there's a contact page where there's a box to write in a question or anything that you want to say. And you click send, that just comes to me. And my regular email is the same as I would get from my wife. So Or
Awesome.
from Steve Fieros, if you wanted to send me an email, it'll come right to the same box. So
Sweet. And now for listeners, right? Now I get in touch with a man filled with experience and wisdom. So, Joel, I greatly appreciate you sharing with me and the audience, all the listeners, your wealth of experience and your knowledge. I love how you're able to approach life and the business too. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and help us along with our journey. And for those of our listeners, check out his site, Joel Miller Books. Go check out his book. I think you'll be greatly happy with it. If there's anything like our conversation here, you'll be mining it for gems for years to come. So, but I really appreciate you hopping on. We'll have to circle back with you and see how many, if your sons bought you out at that time, or
but
or
yes,
if you didn't move
3
on to
years.
bigger things.
I hope we can talk again before 3 years from now sometime.
Sounds good. We'll schedule a follow up.
Yeah. And I just quickly add, the book is very easy to read, although it's 460 pages, the way it's set up. I have a lot of bold type words, paragraphs, sentences in there. And it's set up so that if you did nothing but read from one bold type thing to the next, to the next, to the next, you will totally understand what's going on. And if you think you want to know more, just stop and read all the words in the chapter. Or if you read the whole book, the bold type thing is a real easy review. It's just, it's available in ebook and paperback.
Awesome. The listeners, so check it out, and you'll be able to mine the mind of Joel, and years of experience. So that's going to be a huge benefit, I know, to anybody who checks it out. Well, again, thanks again, Joel, for hopping on and sharing with us. I greatly appreciate it, and we'll circle back.
I've had a blast, man. We talked about some things that don't always get talked about. I love it. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Have a great one. Aloha.
Okay.
Thank you. Great conversation with Joel Miller. Definitely make sure that you check out his book, Build Real Estate Wealth. It sounds like it's an awesome book with lots of experience. He's obviously got a ton of experience. So I love people having like that. I love having people like that on the show who've been through different market cycles, who have a wealth of experience in different facets of real estate and can help to avoid potential pitfalls and problems because they've been through them. And honestly, that's where we learn a lot of different things in order. Hey, don't do that, do this. And so, great having him on the show. Guys, if you're interested in investing with us, go to tricityequity.com to learn more about our previous deals that we've got coming up. If you want to schedule a call with one of us and one of the team, you can go there to do that. If you want to connect with local like-minded investors, you're here in Honolulu. We have our monthly meetup, Honolulu Multifamily and More. We've got that every month. We've been doing that every month for the last 6 years. Great group of people that come out, both experienced and people who are just starting out. So if you want to connect with us, check out the site. You can go to meetup.com. You can find us on Facebook. We'd love to meet you, put a face to the name. We also have our annual conference coming up, the Hawaii Millionaires Mindset Conference coming up. It's coming up fast, June 19th through the 21st. It's going to be 3 days full of just jam-packed learning about business, learning about real estate, different strategies, pitfalls to avoid, and different people that we're going to have, speakers that will come out and help you along your journey into business and real estate and how to build generational wealth. So it's going to be an awesome time. So make sure that you're buying, get your ticket. Now, of course, if you guys are finding value in the show, make sure that you like it, subscribe, share the episode with a friend or somebody who you think might find value in the podcast or in the show. And we would greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I'm signing off. We'll see you on the next episode. Go out, take some action, and we'll see you on the next one.